A specific case, so it wasn't just a hypothetical. It was a case Judge Jackson was involved in where she takes this position that the pro-life protesters are hostile.
The words exactly are, this is in her brief. Few American citizens who seek to exercise constitutionally protected rights must run a gauntlet through a hostile, noisy crowd of in-your-face protesters. Maybe it wasn't an accident that when asked about what is name your fundamental rights, she didn't say the First Amendment freedom of speech.
Right, because First Amendment freedom of speech, then she'd have to say, well, you can speak against abortion. And like you said, there's abortion distortion. You can speak about pretty much anything you want to speak about, but don't speak up about protecting the life of an unborn baby. And that's why she wouldn't want to admit that. And she argued against it.
We all know now, in a time when free speech is under attack in many different ways, and the groups who used to support real robust freedom of speech, those ACLU type groups who would sometimes side with us too.
Oh yeah,
they're now partisan. They only want it's only speech that they agree with. Defund the police. They agree with that. Pro-life speech they don't agree with. When we win cases for speech, it's for everybody's speech for both sides. It's like when you win a case for religious liberty, it's for all religious groups.
You attacked pro-life women, and this was in a brief that you wrote. You described them, and I'm quoting, hostile, noisy crowd of in-your-face protesters, end quote. And you advocated against these women's First Amendment right to express their sincerely held views regarding the sanctity of each individual life. And I'm a pro-life woman. 79% of the American women support restrictions of some type on abortion. And so I find it incredibly concerning that someone who is nominated to a position with life tenure on the Supreme Court holds such a hostile view toward a view that is held as a mainstream belief that every life is worth protecting.
This is what we wrote back. This was in 2001. We said this statute is silent concerning prohibition of harassment, violence, obstruction, or any of the other purposes described by the defendants and their amici in the brief. The fact alone counters over 90% of what defendants and their amici have to say in their briefs. The statute is an example of draconian overkill, pro-life speech. Counseling to women seeking abortion is being bludgeoned by this legislation, not merely burdened. No other movement for civil rights has been treated in such a harsh, Orwellian manner by the state. I mean, that's true. Would you ask Judge Jackson, then, was the civil rights movement a peaceful protest when it was also, by the way, civil disobedience?
Right.
The question about these was, is it even that?
No,
these were people on a public sidewalk who speaking.
Let me say this. Her position on these buffer zones and these bubble zones was rejected by the United States Supreme Court in 2014, 9-0. So the position she advocated was to the left of Justice Ginsburg. So, again, this is just so you know what we've got. Justice Breyer agreed with our position in that case, that in fact this law in Massachusetts was unconstitutional, the buffer zone. We're litigating those now. Breyer agreed with us. Justice Ginsburg agreed with us. Justice Kagan, Justice Sotomayor, they agreed with us. This nominee, who probably will be confirmed, I have very little doubt of that. This nominee takes a position to the left, legally speaking, of these justices.
That ruling said the law prevents the petitioners from engaging in exactly the transmission of ideas the First Amendment is meant to protect. But she is totally going against that the First Amendment does not protect it. Again, if you're talking about protecting the life of a baby.
It's gotten to a point now where it's the right in America that actually supports freedom of speech. And the left, which has always had this kind of tinge of silencing what they don't like and keeping out that speech. They've been fighting for these buffer zones for decades to make these speech-free zones. I want to live in a country where you can just say what you want.
We are actually in court on these cases right now. I mean, I've argued these buffer zone cases for 3 decades at the Supreme Court. So, I mean, obviously we know a lot about this. We filed briefs in this case that she filed a brief in. Your support of the American Center for Law and Justice makes all of this possible. And we've been doing it going in our 4th decade now. Your support makes it happen.